Welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Wayne Moore. How are you?
Good. And how are you?
Doing pretty good, man. Just having a blessed day. Just being here with you and the WHMB TV Channel 40 family. Let me do this before we get started. Let me give our sponsors, if you don't mind me doing that.
Absolutely.
All right, we have Tamiko Associates Realty Group, brand new group, doing a great job on the predominantly east side, if I'm not mistaken, of Indianapolis but they work all over the city of Indianapolis, but they've done some major things on the east side. Not only that, Martin University, happy to have them with us. Marion County Public Health Department and the work that they're doing in the midst of COVID-19. Al's Modern Clothing and Shoes. We also have His Place Eatery, Fervent Care Christian Academy, Northside Window and Gutter Cleaning, and last but not least, the mighty Lee Cussell and Crawley firm that has been with us. And we're happy to have all of these hopefully embedded long-term sponsors right here on Real People, Real Voices.
Yeah, we're very grateful to God for what he has done over the past several years. I want to encourage you all to go to YouTube, WHMB TV 40. You can watch this show when it's over, as well as others that you might have missed. And
you can like us on Facebook, because we're ready for you to hit the share button and share us all over the city and the state of Indiana.
Please do that. We've got some great guests today, the Coburn Place.
Yes, historical place. I'm excited to talk about it today because I'm familiar with some of the history of Coburn Place and the young man that done a great job helping that foundation, as he built on that foundation to create with that community, that particular fixture that's there in that corridor, 38th Street corridor.
That's going to be some good Black History Month.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Stay with us. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome to Real People, Real Voices. Welcome back, I should say. And we're joined by Julia Catherine, CEO of the historic Coburn Place in Indianapolis. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
It's good to have you here. Tell us about Coburn Place.
Well, Coburn Place is a housing support service for survivors of interpersonal abuse here in Indianapolis. And we have a number of different types of housing and well-being programs that we offer to survivors. On site, we have 35 apartments, and then we also house people out in the community in permanent housing. And then we provide all kinds of well-being supports to survivors as they're getting back on their feet and healing from the trauma of abuse.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Tell us about the work of Charles Montgomery as it relates to the building there on 38th.
Oh my goodness, Reverend Montgomery he is a legacy in our work. Back when he was the executive of the Community Development Corporation here in Indianapolis, he had a vision for this abandoned school building along 38th Street. And he really imagined that this beautiful building could be brought back to life. It had been sitting vacant for a number of years. And so he approached, leaders in the community, other leaders in the community, and shared that vision and pulled in businesses and corporations like PEDCOR, the mayor's office at the time, other community leaders. RTV6 was part of this Safe Haven campaign 25 years ago. And Reverend Montgomery really led the visionary work of taking this abandoned school building, this old IPS School 66. There was foliage growing up in the building, water coming in the ceilings and stuff. And he really imagined that if we, put our heart and soul into this building and brought it back to life, that it could once again be a vibrant part of, not only the neighborhood of Meridian Kessler and, the 38th Street corridor, known back in the day as Maple Road, but could really be an incubator for survivors as they, began their journey back into safety and security and really part of the community again. And so he, led the charge. We renovated the old classrooms into apartments. So those old classrooms are now, 35 separate 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom apartments where families can come and be safe. They can live on site for up to 2 years and really get their feet back under them again. So Reverend Montgomery he's a legacy in our work.
Wow, I think that's phenomenal. I think it needs to, 25 years later, Coburn Place is still standing strong. And the building still has a beauty to it. It still has the beauty to it that was recreated under his vision and leadership. And
You're absolutely right. I mean, we're on the National Registry of Historical Sites. So anyone that would be traveling up and down 38th Street, take a look at our building there. It's between Park Avenue and Broadway Street on the north side of 38th Street. And it's beautiful, beautiful masonry work and copper along the top of the building. And it's just beautiful architecture. And it's on the National Registry, like I said.
Yeah, that's great.
Work that you all do, certainly very, very important and much needed. And with all that's going on with the global pandemic, of course, last March, everything got shut down. And in America, of course, we have families, but everybody's kind of moving about and maybe meet up at the house a little later on. How has COVID-19, of course, as the governor said, everybody had to hunker down, or here locally, everybody had to stay home. How has that impacted interpersonal violence?
Well, I think everybody's sharing kind of this experience. It's a shared experience of the trauma of the pandemic, and certainly survivors and victims of abuse at home are experiencing it in a very tragic way. We all back in March of this past year, we were sent home to isolate. But some folks and many folks don't have a safe place to isolate at home. It's not safe for them to be, 24/7 at home with their abusers. Oftentimes work for them, or going to church, or going to the grocery store, going to get their hair done. Those things out in the community were places that they could reach out for help, reach out for network and support. And when survivors are really isolating at home with the abusers, much like we are only seeing our families maybe day in and day out, that's who they're seeing as well. And there was no safe place for them to turn or to be noticed that they might need help. So places like Coburn Place and other organizations that are providing services to families that are struggling with domestic violence and interpersonal abuse at home are just more important than ever. It's vital for people in our community to have a safe place called home. And it's more vital than ever for people who are being victimized in their own homes to have a place that they can be safe and that they can really, not only be safe from the virus and the pandemic, but be safe from violence and abuse. So we've been more busy than ever. We served a little over 1,400 people last year at Coburn Place, and that's about 500 more people than is what would be a typical year for Coburn Place. It's just, it put pressure on us to keep stepping up and to keep figuring this out, but we never closed, and we kept moving forward, and we kept housing people. That's what we just continued to do.
I think that when we looked at COVID-19, nobody anticipated the level of, I used domestic abuse. There's another term you've been using.
Okay.
You've been using, could you give us that term you've been using?
Interpersonal abuse?
Yeah, interpersonal abuse.
Mm-hmm.
The interpersonal abuse has skyrocketed. And I told March, April, that I told our community that we need to be very cautious of interpersonal relationships that will have abuse in them. And here we are, last year, over 500, over and above what you usually do, is a tremendous astronomical number in the city of Indianapolis. How did you manage that? You said you did well with it, but how did you do it? Because you have a long-term, you're not a long-term facility, but you are a long-term facility. 2 years is a good time to stay in a facility and get yourself together.
It really is, and it's really necessary to provide that incubation period, if you will, for someone to be able to come, be safe. On site in our transitional housing program, we don't charge rent either, and so that really gives that family the opportunity to pay themselves that rent. Put it aside for their permanent housing nest egg, if you will, when they go on and move out into the community. The way we did it was we just, much like everyone else, we kept our head down and focused, and had to figure out, as the pandemic brought new things our way, of how to stay open and how to stay mobile. And we kept moving forward with adding technology pieces to our advocates or our case managers, portfolio and toolbox, so that they could take phone calls, they could be as mobile as possible. We very quickly had laptops, brought in for everyone to be able to work from home as much as possible. We've always done this thing called mobile advocacy, where we would go out into the community and meet with survivors where they're at, a safe place. Maybe it was the coffee shop near their work, or near where they would drop their child off for childcare or school or something, the library. But very quickly in the pandemic, those places weren't open and available for a victim to go to and meet with an advocate and talk about safety or get resources. And so we had to figure out how to really replicate those safe places, but through technology. So we've added team members, we've added a ton of technology, and we've just really been thinking outside the box and really following the survivor's lead. Because not all survivors have access to technology, and they don't have access to the library anymore. They don't have access to the coffee shop. So if they could text us, if they could, make a phone call at 2 a.m., we're going to be there. We're going to figure out what's the best way that they can access our services, and then we're going to meet them at that spot.
All right, very good information. We got to take a quick break. And, stay with us. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back, and we are joined by Julia Catherine, CEO of the Colburn Place. How long have you been serving there?
I've been at Colburn Place as a CEO for the past 10 and a half years, and I've worked in this field of providing domestic violence services for the last 26 years. It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
With the progressive economic development coming to that area, you are very much aware of that. Mm-hmm. What do you see Colburn Place being? Will she still be there?
We will still be there. We've been here for 25 years. We don't have any intention of leaving, but we are looking to the future. With that increase, like I was just telling you earlier, we've served over 500 more people than we did in the previous year in 2020. And our wait list for services, particularly our wait list for transitional housing in particular, the housing that we do on site, always has typically well over 100 or more families waiting. And that's probably 4 or 5 times there's many out in the community waiting for our community-based housing that we do. There's no shortage of demand for our services and need for our services. So for the last couple of years, we've really been looking at how can we expand the number of housing units that we're able to offer. We currently have the 35 on site. Right now we have, last year we housed about 62 families out in the community, and we housed about 52 total families on site. And it still didn't make a dent in the wait list for people who are waiting for our housing services. So we're looking around in the near vicinity. We don't have any intention of leaving 38th Street or our current location, but we're looking at how can we expand? How could we potentially add more housing units at our current location, or maybe acquiring something in the near vicinity so that we could add some more housing to our inventory and our portfolio to be able to serve more families.
Look how innovative this has become. It's a school building. Many years ago, I'm pretty sure you've seen it happen. School buildings were purchased for a little bit of nothing. IPS real estate some years ago was purchased for a little of nothing. You could buy a school building, Brother Jackson, for $25,000 or $30,000 at one time. But now look how innovative Coburn Place has been for economic development. Every time a school closes, they're thinking now about turning that into condos or something of that nature. And that was a very innovative move on Reverend Montgomery's part. And now when you look at it today, which he designed a non-for-profit, but now people are wanting these type of facilities for profit. What do you think about that?
I think it shows that there's great bones, in these historical buildings, and they certainly shouldn't be discarded. Reverend Montgomery is a visionary. He saw this beautiful building and many buildings like it, around the community, and there's still several vacant old school buildings that could be brought back to life, certainly. Whenever we're giving tours of our beautiful building, one of the things I love to point out are the floors. This beautiful polished, concrete floor that has, design inlaid and inset in it. And you think about all the children who walked over those floors, throughout the years, and the stories it could tell, the beautiful bricks, the woodwork that's in this building. Of course, people want to live in places like that, because it's so vibrant and it's so historical. What I love about it is that, we're serving survivors in this building that's really high demand. I mean, it's beautiful architecture. People want to live here, and they should, and survivors deserve that kind of environment too, to get their feet back under them and to get their life back. They're vibrant and vital members of our community, and they should have these highly desirable places as well. But it is interesting. I wish I could still snatch up buildings like this, but I can't afford them anymore.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's amazing.
They're out there.
Yeah, they're out there. They're out there, but they're not out like they was at one time. They're out.
That is so true. That is so true.
Yeah, and that's something to really look at how innovative that was 25 years ago, and now it has become almost the order of the day for condo living, for apartment living, for profit, not non-for-profit organizations. I hope that whatever schools are in those areas, that whatever, if we're not wanting the demise of IPS schools, but if buildings come up, I hope Coburn Place will be in a position to expand with another school building. That would be so dynamic.
That would be
so dynamic.
Out here on the Far East side would be wonderful.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. It would be. Come to think of it, Jackson, that would be a tremendous opportunity for some of those vacant schools out there to have a Coburn Place East. You know what I mean? Never thought about that, had you, Julia?
Well, my goodness, by the time this interview is over, we'll have a whole strategy in place.
Be the Coburn Place East.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
To the folks who are our viewers, if they need to connect with your service, how do they do that?
Well, we're available 24 hours a day. They could call us. They could get on our website. We also have a number they can text, email, any way that you can imagine. Our website is www.coburnplace.org. And like I said, we will respond. If somebody would like to, access our services, just reach out. There's no wrong way. There's no wrong time. And if somebody would like to volunteer or support our work, we always have opportunities to become a volunteer and help out either in, the direct service of what we do, helping out with our kids program, or, a number of things from helping, get the apartments ready to just keeping our pantry stocked. And then certainly we always need the financial support of our community. As you can imagine, especially with our on-site transitional housing, not charging rent. That's a significant financial commitment that Coburn Place makes to the families that we're serving on site. And the reason we do that is because those folks that are living there on site, they're the farthest back in their journey. They're in the most danger. They're the most precarious economic situation. And we really do. This school building has been an incubator in our community for years, and it remains an incubator for families to really get their feet under them and begin their journey to healing and safety.
Thank you so much for all the wonderful information you share. All the best to you, your staff, and the Coburn Place.
Thank you so much for having me today.
And we be cautious of the fact that we're looking forward to Coburn East.
I love it. You have a vision.
We have some more to come, so stay with us. We'll be back after this. Well, welcome back. We hope you enjoyed the show. I'm James Jackson.
And I'm Pastor Wayne Moore.
And I'm Curtis Baker with WHMB TV 40. Gentlemen, great show today.
Oh, man.
Fantastic show.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that struck me, you know, we have all these empty school buildings all over the city spread out. And that one particular one, they did a great job of creating a safe haven for abused, sexual battered women. But can you imagine all these other school buildings that could be refurbished and rehashed to make other things in our community better?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can concur, and I want to thank the Reverend Charles Montgomery for the work he did with Coburn Place over 25 years ago. Showed that he was a visionary, and I think we also mentioned to her that it was an innovational type of move to take a place like that and turn it into a place for battered women or those who have been interpersonally dealt with by way of domestic violence. But like I said, now when we look at school buildings, people are turning them into condos and apartments and things of that nature. Wouldn't it be great if the city of Indianapolis would create another homeless shelter, a homeless shelter out of a school building, and not only that, but also help Coburn Place to have Coburn East.
Well, that's too much like right, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You know, there's a pastor on the south side. I don't recall their name, but they took a school and did that. And you talked about it, Dr. Moore. You could get these schools pretty affordably. Our church started in School 75, which was, and I think still is, owned by Friendship Missionary Baptist Church.
And then you have right adjacent, School 44, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, where Dr. S.R. Shields done a great work there, creating a senior citizens facility. I believe that it's still there, just adjacent from the church on West 30th Street. So there were some innovative mindsets along with Charles Montgomery that understood that. These are most of them are non-profits at this particular time, but now it's all about the economic development and profit now. And so, but that's where we are.
And that's where we're in. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time.